Hey. That's what a double click does.
Yeah. Hey.
All right, we're here. Get used to it. Matthew, as you can tell by the title, is this constitutional or criminal?
What, my cat? Probably
No.
both.
This little story I'm about to tell you from 2 weeks ago that just happened to somehow stay out of the mainstream media. In one of the A states, Alabama, Arkansas, whatever, I think it was Alabama, a woman is suing a municipality. I don't know if you heard about this.
I don't know. I might have. Just given details.
She was arrested for some sort of chemically endangering a fetus because she it was reported she was taking illicit drugs while pregnant. Did you hear anything about this?
No, I don't think I'm familiar with this one.
Well, let me take you through the steps.
Stop eating my plant.
It's a good plant. Yum.
It is. It's a very good plant. Well, not that.
Okay, here's what happened. She had been apparently known to use illicit substances, and they were trying to the police department was trying to build a case against her. And they spoke to her daughter, and the daughter says, I think she might be pregnant. Now, in this specific municipality, the law states that if you are pregnant and endanger the child, you automatically get arrested, a $10,000 bond, and you have to go to a drug rehab center in order to be released on the bond. So, fast forward to where we are.
Okay.
Daughter says, I think she might be pregnant. The cops go and arrest her for endangering an unborn child because, you know, the fetus is a person law that they have over there.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm not pregnant. And they said, yeah, sure. Okay. And she said, look, I'll even take a pregnancy test if that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So they arrested her. They put her in a cell to sleep on a floor for 36 hours. She gets her menstrual cycle while she's in there, and they refuse to give her any pads or anything.
So she's obviously not pregnant.
They finally do the pregnancy test, and it comes out negative.
Of course.
Yet she's still released on bail. Now, if I'm not a lawyer, I may play one on TV, but I'm not a lawyer. But I can pretty much say that if you don't have a fetus, then the clause of doing it while pregnant doesn't apply. And if you don't have a fetus, then doing the drugs doesn't apply to the whole situation. You can't be arrested.
Right.
But yet they held her for 36 hours, refused her any, feminine products, any relief whatsoever. And they wouldn't let her go until she spoke with, I guess, the captain. For 20 minutes, he interrogated her, giving her all sorts of warnings before he let her go. Even though it was found that she was not pregnant.
False imprisonment. Yeah.
So now she's got a lawyer, and she's suing the municipality for it.
Good.
So
but you see, the thing about that type of stuff that really it bothers me, they're the ones that commit the crime, the badness, whatever it is. But it's the taxpayers that pay for it because they're suing a municipality. But guess whose pocket it comes out of? Ours. That's where it comes out of.
Well, then maybe we'll get
budget.
Well, then maybe we'll get smart enough one day and say we're tired of all this bullshit. Let's put some new people in, some fresh blood in. Let's get this all fixed up and get these crooks out of there.
Agreed. Oh yeah. No, we've been asleep. Myself included. Didn't pay attention to our local stuff. I was always worried about, Congress and president and stuff like that. And
You know, she literally got arrested for endangering a fetus and charged with it while she wasn't pregnant.
sorry about that. Yeah, right.
Well, she was, and they held her for almost 48 hours before releasing her on $10,000 cash bond. Even though they knew at the time they released her she was not pregnant.
Right. So nothing's wrong. I mean, maybe the drug would be an issue if it was illegal, but it's
But
a
they didn't.
totally separate thing. Yeah.
They didn't charge her with
And
that.
something else I discovered too is you can't create after the fact. Like you can't arrest somebody for obstruction when they didn't obstruct until after you found out they obstructed. Like the obstruction didn't happen until later. You can't, or whatever. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, the story, the main thing that bothers me is we don't know the age of the daughter. I don't know, but they went to the daughter. The daughter says she might be pregnant. They go to her, and she says, "I'm not pregnant." And they don't even investigate and go to the daughter and say, why do you think she's pregnant? What makes you think she's pregnant? What gives you that idea? How did you come to that conclusion? They automatically take her word for it, and when the woman says, no, that's absolutely wrong, they go, well, we don't believe you because we heard from a third source.
Right.
You know, whatever happened to, and I'm sorry, but part of being a cop is criminal investigation. So whatever happened to the investigative part of this?
Right. I don't know. No, actually, I didn't think the part of their job was investigative. That's left for the detective department. That's what they do. Beat cops
Right,
shouldn't be investigators. They should deal with traffic things or something in progress, or a crime happening at the moment. You have other departments for the investigative work. If you're pulling someone over for a traffic stop, pull someone over for a traffic stop. Don't just, I'm seeing so many things where they're pulling people over for not signaling, and it's clear that they did, but now they get them out of the car. Now they go for this and they start searching.
Yeah, I saw that there was a woman that they did that to, and they actually planted drugs in her car, and they got caught.
Yeah.
They got caught. After they arrested her, they got caught. It was on his body cam. He screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like,
that's what the ones that leave their cams on. What about the ones that are smart enough? They've found ways to disable their cams and mute them or turn them off completely.
Well, a lot of departments that have the cameras have a policy that it has to be on whenever you're out of the car.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they violate that policy. That does happen. They violate the policy all the time.
Right, but if something happens, and it goes to court, like they get sued, and they say, well, we don't have body cam footage because we just didn't feel like turning it on. Yeah, they could be liable.
No, I mean, but what evidence? What proof is there? There's no proof either way. It can become a situation of hearsay, and
right, but it
not going to get that hearsay evidence.
You're right, but you have to think of the average person, and the average person is who's on the jury. And if you're sitting on a jury, especially a lawsuit will definitely make it that far. If you're sitting on a jury and you hear, well, we're accusing him of doing this, and he's saying I didn't do it, and then you say, well, show us the film, and we accidentally erased it. We don't have it. We forgot to turn it on. That's going to make the jury go, something else is going on here.
Right.
Any logical, rational thinking person would think that way.
Hopefully, yeah.
But my question is, the arrest was illegal, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, okay, they could have they have an informant, so to speak, in the daughter. But the daughter's information, if you took that to a judge, you'd get laughed out. If you said, Judge, we need a warrant because somebody said they may be pregnant.
Right.
Or they thought they might be. Judge is going to be like, well, come up with some serious data and then we'll talk.
Well, think about it. For the Republicans to get what they want as far as that goes, you're going to need some kind of registry. You're going to need where a woman's going to actually have to register her cycles to enforce those things, or be checked by a doctor before they travel, or whatever. That's the only way.
The story gets worse.
Yeah, I had a feeling it might.
It gets worse. Remember I told you that captain or chief sat down and talked to her for 20 minutes before they released her? One of the things they told her is, if she gets pregnant within the next 4, 5, 6 months, she'll be rearrested and put in jail.
Fuck does that have to do with anything?
Because
what, you can't have sex again for 6 months or something? Is that what they're saying?
They're saying
what the hell is that?
Because they know that she did drugs today, she can't have a child for the next 4 or 5 months, or she'll be arrested for endangering the child. They have arrested,
and then they make it so that you can't get birth control either, and contraceptions, totally.
Since they started this, in 2012, I believe this municipality put it in place. They've arrested 150 women for things like miscarriages, stillbirths.
Yeah.
I think it's just an excuse to make money for the city. Right. You charge them a $10,000 bond, and if they're found guilty, I don't think they get that money back. So each one of them has a minimum of $10,000, plus they're remanded to a drug rehab center before they go to trial.
Yeah, you're talking invasion of a person's rights. I mean, I think that if a person, hopefully, that is using or illicit drugs or something really potent or whatever, smoking for that matter, knows enough to do what they need to do and plan that. Right. I hope so. I think my mom smoked when she was pregnant with me.
Oh, no, but my dad used to hold this on his knee while he was smoking. I used to do the same thing with my kids. My father never smoked. I used to do it with my kids. My wife, my ex-wife, used to smoke all through the pregnancy. My kids came out, well, as normal as humanly possible. But
I certainly have my flaws.
Well, my problem is, not only are they charging a not pregnant woman on a crime against a fetus, they're remanding her mandatory to rehab before she's even convicted. That's like pulling someone off the street and saying, you have to do this or you're going to stay in jail. Right. Well, what did I do? Well, we don't know and we don't care. We're just telling you have to do this. Whatever happened to human rights?
Yeah, that is what it boils down to.
I don't understand how it can be it can be a standard practice, because what they're doing is they're imprisoning that person for X amount of days or weeks until they're satisfied, without any charges, without any convictions.
Right.
By law, you're only allowed to be held, I think it's 48 hours before they have to come up with a charge. They came up with a charge, but they stuck her, they're sticking these people in medical facilities without any medical or legal basis for it.
Well, now it's no longer a requirement to read you your Miranda rights now. That surprised me. I found out in a cop video I saw, but nope. They do not have to do that anymore. You do have those rights. They're available to you, but they don't read them to you when they're questioning you and all that.
Right. You have to be smart enough to go, I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't smart enough, especially in those situations. They don't want to get shot. They want to continue on. The questions they're asking you are so they can further find evidence against you. They're not having a conversation with you. They'd rather be out doing something else. Hell, they're on the clock. That's their job. You know, McDonald's came to you.
Can you imagine if you're bagging groceries at a grocery store and all of a sudden the cops roll up and put you in handcuffs, drag you into their car, throw you in a cell, and say that somebody said you might have stole something?
Mm,
Okay, but I didn't.
maybe.
Yeah, well, they told us you might have, so you're going to stay here for at least 4 or 5 days.
Right.
That's illegal, isn't it? Isn't it
Well,
unlawful
are you saying
imprisonment?
something like that happened?
Well, I'm equating it to what happened with this woman.
Mm,
Someone said you might have done something. You might have been
right.
pregnant. They arrest her and say, "Yeah, we're not going to buy your story, so we're going to lock you up for a few days."
Right.
But even with a DUI, the first thing they do is get a blood test. She offered to have a pregnancy test, and they denied it for 36 hours.
Well, and then the way they treated her, if they assumed that she was pregnant, then they didn't treat the baby very well.
Right, and she was bleeding through her menstrual cycle,
Sure.
and they didn't say, "Okay, if she's pregnant, this could be a miscarriage. Let's get her to the doctors."
Sure, exactly right. Maybe she's having some issues otherwise other than a normal thing. Yeah. That's
So
true.
instead they said, "Let's leave her on the floor and not give her any assistance whatsoever for anything,
Mhm.
and see how it plays out."
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I don't live in that kind of country.
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of, I don't know, I'll call it complacency, but it seems like they're just too relaxed. They're too comfortable in these positions of power. Maybe they need to be rotated around. Maybe like they do at military, you do certain time here and certain amount of time there, and doing other things than just being a beat cop or being a whatever. That could get graining on somebody. It could change them. Change them psychologically, make them numb to the things that they see on a daily basis.
Well, let's bring it back to that example of the grocery bagger.
Mm-hmm.
They put him in for a few days. At the end of his time, they find out he didn't do it. But yet they tell him, if you ever start working as in a grocery store again, we're going to arrest you.
Well, I understand at least the logic in the last part of that, because the drugs are going to be in your system for a period of time. But for them to be able to, that doesn't equate to the grocery store analogy, but it's close enough. It's still. Is it a smart thing for someone like that to do? No, but it's still their choice. Being intelligent is not whether you're smart or not smart, that's not a crime. It's just, if you rob a store, well, okay, then you're stupid and yeah, you committed a crime. But in this situation here, to me, it falls back to going as far as abortion and things like that. It's a choice for the person to make, not for me or you. It's not our decision to make. And it sounds like they're tracking someone down and they're controlling them to make sure that they will follow what they think is the right thing to follow.
Without a conviction, without any court decision.
And she didn't do anything wrong in the first place. So that means that anything they found after the fact that she committed no crime is inadmissible. So
Right.
This warning and all that, if it ever wound up where she was arrested and it was put before a judge, they didn't have the right to arrest her or detain her in the first place. At minimum. So everything that became after that, it's in there's a tree name for it, but you can't.
It's the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Yeah, no, but there's another name. I heard it anyway. But it's a progression that they can't do. They're stopped. They're blocked because they broke the law beyond that. They broke the law to get the original whatever. It wasn't legal in the first place.
Right.
So what you're telling me now, that she has X amount of time, that she better not become whatever. Go ahead. Get pregnant, let them arrest her, go to court, but it should be thrown out.
And then I have the question. Then I have the question of, since they found that she was not pregnant, right? They didn't know that up until the time of the pregnancy test 36 hours later. So their behavior from the time they arrested her till that time, putting her, sleeping her, making her sleep on the floor, not helping her when she was bleeding and all that, could that then be considered child neglect
Or abuse.
by
Sure,
them?
why not? Yeah.
Because at the time they assumed that she was pregnant.
And we're only talking about abuse of the child. We're not talking about abuse of this person and her rights. There's
Correct.
2 violations that were made, not just 1, 2. If this person was, because right now we have to think in the terms that they're thinking in. Right now they were under the belief that this person was pregnant.
But the question is, why were they under the belief? Because she said she wasn't.
But it doesn't really matter. They believed right up until the test was negative that she was pregnant. So
Correct.
when you add in that information, then we get 2 counts of abuse.
Right.
1 is civil
Right.
rights abuse, and 2 a neglect of a child.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know,
Or a fetus or
even
whatever.
if,
Yeah.
whatever. Well, I don't know. They consider life automatic, so no, a
Right.
child.
Right. Right.
So yeah, and even though if we find out that that is now not the case and that's gone, if they're holding her to this 6 months thing, it means that now she has the right to hold them for abuse of a child.
On the 36 hours that
Yes.
they thought there was one.
That's right. Because
Right.
now because they're infringing on her rights. If you're going to go that far with what you're doing, then logic would say that this would be available on the other end, because now both of these things are true if you're looking at it that way.
Now look, we're both old white guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. No, we're not women.
Yeah, I know.
We're not in that situation, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a voice when we see something that's wrong.
That's utter bullshit. Yeah, I agree.
You know, I'm really tired of, and I see it a lot in comments of, you're not a man, so you're not a woman, so you have no right to say anything. Well, yeah, I do, because I have a mother, I have sisters, I had a wife, I have a daughter.
I don't know, but I think to vote on their specific bodily autonomy, I don't think I have a right in that. Not if we're voting on an absolution. I think it'd be their vote. I think if women want to vote on it, by all means, the women can vote on it. But at the flip side, I don't necessarily want a woman to vote on something that's personal to me as a man. I don't want that. Why the fuck is it a double-edged situation? No.
Because it affects them.
But it should be just a non-issue, in my opinion. It shouldn't even be up for debate. It should still be left for the individual and their family and their doctor and their circle of life.
Absolutely. Although there are a few guys that I could, seriously stand behind and go, yeah, they need a vasectomy.
Like mandatorily.
Yeah.
I would never say a game like Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Green or
Herschel
Walker. Yeah, any of those. I would never say their names out loud.
No, because that would be wrong. But I just think that just because we voice our opinion doesn't mean we're wrong and doesn't mean we're right. It's an opinion.
Like assholes.
And in that situation, I think that anyone who has an opinion should be able to voice it. That's why we have the comment section down there.
I want to hear them too.
So people can voice their opinion on topics like this. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are now that you know what ours are. Yeah, and with that, I would like to say enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back again later. Matthew, anything left?
Maybe on the next round. I'm good.
All right. And we are out of here.